Today we're taking a look at 3 different sword plants, and they all happen to be red, but all have different kind of colors and patterns to them, so stay tuned to check them out. What's going on, guys? Justin from H2O Plants, and if you're new here and you enjoy planted aquarium content or plants in general, make sure you hit that subscribe button. But today we're taking a look at 3 of probably our most sold sword plants that are red, and those are going to be red Rubin, red flame, and also Kleiner Bar Sword. Now these sword plants are particularly easy. They don't need a whole lot of light to turn red, so even low light aquariums can use these plants and they will be red in them. So the first one that I wanted to kind of touch on is probably the one that I've sold the most of and since we started selling aquarium plants, and that's actually the Kleiner Bar Sword. Now you can see here there's some green leaves. That's what will happen when these are grown above the water, but what you want to look for are these nice bright red ones, and just so you can kind of see them there, they are nice and bright. They look even more bright underwater, and they almost have like a pinkish kind of hue to it that makes them look really nice. Now, they're fairly easy to care for. They're very easy. This pot, this is one that we would sell. This actually has 2 plants in it, and that's probably because that's a baby that's coming off the side over here. What happens is most sword plants will either produce like a flower stalk that'll come up and off the top of the plant, and then it'll produce babies along those called a stave, or it'll produce kind of babies off to the side, much like other plants do. So this one in particular does produce side shoots, and that is probably a baby in there. I doubt it's actually 2 separate plants, but nonetheless you get 2 beautiful red plants, or beginning to be red. And what happens is when they're submerged, you'll see them start to dye back their green leaves. As you can see here, here's one that's actually turned yellow, and this one you could actually pluck right off. Once they start to turn yellow, like this one's beginning to, this one can actually come off of here too. It's just trying to get to it. But that's when you usually want to trim sword plants, when they're either going yellow or kind of decaying, like that one's missing a chunk out of it, so it wouldn't be wise to leave that attached. But once the leaves start to fade, you want to trim them off and just kind of get them off based on the bottom of the tank. And once they start to kind of fade or look like they're dying off, what you want to do is you want to actually trim them as close to the bottom as you can. So right down here. And you could either just kind of rip them off like so, or you can use scissors and trim them off, and that'll be just fine. Now, Kleiner bars don't really care about water temperature, pH, anything like that. Anywhere in the middle, from 6 to 8 was fine. Temperature, anything from like 7, I got these guys in about 68. So you could probably grow these anywhere between 68 and 80-ish, maybe 82. They're tropical plants, so they're not that bad in warmer temperatures. And they're not very finicky. The one thing though is sword plants have these nice big roots here. That is because they love good substrate or nutrients. So make sure if you don't have a good nutrient-rich substrate, you're adding root tabs. I mean, you should be adding root tabs anyway, any 3 to 6 months, depending on what kind of substrate you have to begin with. But make sure you're adding root tabs. These guys love it, and they will turn red. Now, if you ever order these from us, or pretty much anywhere else, typically we get them in their grown immersed, hence why they have the green leaves. But sometimes there's very few red leaves. This one particular just has been in our tanks probably for like 2 weeks or so, and it already has like, I don't know, 10 red leaves to it. So just keep that in mind. And they are almost like translucent. You're probably not going to be able to see that on camera. It doesn't look like it's coming through all that well, but they are you can see my finger shadow behind there. They are translucent in a way. You can't like fully see through it, but you can see shadows through it. They just look really cool, the leaves. I love this plant. It's one of my particular favorites. But yeah, Kleiner Bar Sword. There's several different versions of Kleiner Bar. This is just the regular typical Kleiner Bar. There's other versions that we've had in the past. This is probably the more common one though. So next up is red Reuben Sword, and this is it right here. Now it doesn't look quite as red as say the Kleiner Bar. The Kleiner Bar definitely way redder outside of the water, but this guy does get deep dark reds once it's placed underwater. Its leaves are just a bit more kind of translucent. They almost look like a brown. The problem is they also have a green vein, which is kind of cool, but outside the water it makes them look more brown than anything. But they are red, and they are particularly fast growers. Typically, they will produce new leaves almost every single day, which is awesome. They do get rather tall, so this guy's a small one right now, but give it like a month or so, and this would easily be probably about double the size or so. They are incredibly fast. Same thing, similar to the Kleiner Bar, does like root tabs. Unless you have a good substrate, it'll enjoy that. You can see roots at the bottom there already coming out. Same thing like the Kleiner Bar, if the leaves on the outside start to kind of look yellow or are damaged, like this one right here is actually a little damaged, it looks like, and so is this one, so you could actually just remove those, you pluck them off. If you want to leave them, you can leave them too, that's fine, but ideally you want to just pluck away as you see dying leaves. So when they're growing above the water, they are green, like these leaves down here, but once they're submerged, they start growing a reddish, almost a burgundy type color. Very easy plant though, just like the other ones. These are all easy to grow swords. I mean, they don't need a lot of light to turn red. They just typically turn red underwater. You could even have these in low light and they would be fine. So we have the narrow-leafed red sword, which is the red Reuben. Then we have the broader, bit bigger sword that is the Kleiner Bar. And next up is actually the red flame sword. And this guy, out of water, doesn't do it justice. Like, underwater, these leaves are a vibrant red. It just outside of water, the color's distorted. But they look really, really cool. What's also unique about this particular one, the red flame sword, is its leaves have almost like it's like a pattern. I want to see if I could get a better look for you. It might be hard outside the water. But they do have like a flame-like pattern. Might be hard to see, but it's like little speckles of red. Like the overall leaf is green, but then there's just all this like striping and speckling of red that makes it look really cool. Hence the name why it's called Red Flame Sword, because it looks literally like a flame. So yeah, I dig this plant. It's one of my favorite ones. Like the other two, if you see older leaves, like these green ones up here that are starting to spot and have holes, you could just pluck them off, get them down by the base, and they'd be good to go. There's actually two plants in here. It looks like this one's also shooting out a baby down at the bottom, which is cool. Now this one is a lot bigger than the other ones. It will grow taller than the other ones, so keep that in mind. This guy, 10 gallon may be pushing it. You may need a slightly larger tank, like a 20 tall, 29, 30, 40 gallon. Because they do get a bit taller, unless you don't mind that. We have these in a 40 gallon, and these leaves are kind of at the top of the tank. So if you have a bigger aquarium, these would be more ideal for it. The red Reuben and the Kleiner Bar could definitely go in a smaller aquarium, but these guys will get big over time. And their leaves do get rather large. Like these are still almost like, I would say, juvenile plants. Like this is not the biggest leaf I've ever seen on one of these guys. So they will grow rather quickly. Like the other ones, root tabs, good substrate is the way to go with them. And like I said about the Kleiner Bar, all of these are pretty much easy to grow plants. Doesn't matter the pH, doesn't matter the temperature or whatnot. Just keep in mind the size. The red flame sword definitely gets a bit larger than the rest, so keep that in mind. And the Kleiner Bar is probably the most vibrant red out of all of them, but the red flame sword definitely does look good. And the red Reuben is also. So this is the trio right here. I'm dripping water all over the place. But I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you saw some new plants you might be interested in. I wanted to kind of compare the three because they're the most readily available red plants that we get, other than like red tiger lotus and dwarf aquarium lily. So like I wanted to be able to show you the difference between these three so you could make a better decision. Maybe you want all three, maybe you just want two or one or none. But that's them. Leave me a comment down below if you have any red swords that you like outside these, or if you have these and you like these as well. Leave us a comment down below, letting us know. If you enjoyed the video, hit that like button as always. And like I said in the beginning, if you're new here, consider subscribing so you don't miss any future videos. It really helps out the channel, and it's free, so you can't really go wrong. If you want to check out our last video that we did on houseplants, you could click over there. And if you want to check out a video that we did comparing dwarf aquarium lily and red tiger lotus, which are other red plants that you may enjoy, you can click over there. And I'll see you guys next time.